Is this thing on? I guess so. Let's do it. Hallo, ik is Albert Valentin, ook bekend als WorldFilmGeek. Welkom bij de eerste episode van de WorldFilmGeek Podcast. Ons gaan vandaag over Zuid-Afrikaan films praten. Don't worry, the podcast is in English, and I just want to welcome everyone to the first episode of the World Film Geek Podcast. Today, we'll be talking about South African cinema. This is an area of cinema that has quite evolving for years, and with a major resurgence of some titles, as well as actors and directors coming from South Africa, now in America and other places, it's time to show appreciation for South African cinema. Today, my special guest is Christopher Jaftha, an actor and producer who's been in television and films. His most recent performance was in the horror film The Heks, the directorial debut of South African actress Reine Swart. So without further ado, enjoy the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. All right, here we go. Chris, welcome to the podcast. You're the first guest ever. This is the first episode, and it's awesome to be talking to you. You were great in The Heks. Watched it when it first came out over here in December, and man, it was such a good movie.
Oh man, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I can't believe this is the first one, man. Congratulations. Wishing you many, many, many successful ones to come. And yeah, man, I'm excited to be on your show.
That's awesome. So I feel like South African cinema is one that doesn't really get the love it deserves. I think it deserves a lot more appreciation than it does. So, what is it you think about South African cinema that makes it like that it should be given more love and appreciation?
Well, excuse me. First of all, I mean, there's so many international films that shoot in our beautiful country. We've had the likes of Denzel Washington, Ryan Reynolds, Charlie Ron.
Yeah, just to let you guys know, he is broadcasting from South Africa, so there might be times where he might just come out sporadically. It's the whole connection thing there. So just if we do get some sort of distraction, we're all good.
Okay, we're back. I just
right.
need to make sure that the volume is on now.
All right.
There we go. I do apologize for that.
That's right. I let everyone know already that we might have some technical difficulties since you're all the way in South Africa. There we go. All right, you're back.
I'm back. I do apologize for that. My computer was updating, and I had to use my phone. That's why I started off sideways at first. And I'm obviously connected to the Wi-Fi, so I wanted to put my my airplane mode on, and it cuts my Wi-Fi for some strange reason. Shouldn't do that really, because I call on this phone, and I just had to let them know I'm really sorry. I'm actually doing an interview now, so I'll call back. I do apologize.
No problem. Don't worry. I let the fans know already that you're all the way in South Africa, so there might be some technical difficulties here and there because we don't know how the connection could be over there. So it's all good. So
all is good.
Yeah. So again, yeah. So you were saying about why you think South Africa.
Exactly, and why South Africa and South African films should get a bit more shine than it has been. I mean, we have an amazing array of talent, from actors to directors, producers. Our film crews are some of the best in the world. We have a lot of international features that come and shoot in South Africa. Cape Town is one of the hot spots. Durban is opening up now as well. Joburg has always been where the grind was at, you know what I mean? And I said we have the likes of Denzel, Ryan Reynolds, Charlize Theron, Sean Penn, all of these great artists that come and shoot and film in South Africa and act alongside some of our homegrown talent. And I think that, you know, some of the stories that haven't been told that are now getting a little bit of recognition and a little bit of airtime shows that South Africa is the place to look out for and to watch out for, and the talent is one to look out for as well. So without sort of like pumping too much smoke up our behinds, we're very hardworking, we're passionate individuals, and oftentimes, you know, I've worked with so many international directors and producers from film to Broadway and West End. And they always say there's something special about South Africans. Not that there isn't anything special about anywhere else in the world, but I think it's because of the lack of opportunity and the fact that our industry is still quite small and in its infancy stages, that there's still that hunger and that drive. And it's not like in the States where you have, you know, like the acting department would be separate to the modeling and separate to the singing and separate to this and that. Because the opportunities are so vast and so many, here you gotta like spread your wings as far and as wide as possible and dabble in as much as you can and almost be a jack of all trades and master of some.
Yeah, that's like it reminds me of the Hong Kong film industry. They're the same way. You know, you have actors who are singers and directors. They have to dabble in everything. And I feel like, and I've seen, and if you look at the films shot in South Africa, you guys got some of the most beautiful locations, hands down. I mean, you got, you know, the grasslands, the safaris and all that stuff. And I think that's what also makes it well known. It feels like sometimes you're watching a tourism video in some ways, but it's just like the locales there are so wonderfully shot. And I think it depends on who shoots the films there. So I think that's what a big help is as well.
Absolutely. I mean, that's, you know, the landscape is amazing. We've got everything from your sort of tropical rainforest type of looks to your secluded, untouched, untapped islands to, like you said, your safaris and your, what would it be called? The high felt. We call it the high felt. You come higher up. And I mean, like South Africa isn't that big, but it's big enough. I mean, 49 million people, I think we are. That's what our population is. So we're relatively big, but if you consider how small it is, the country compared to, like, let's say the States, for example, we have a crazy amount or diversity when it comes to the landscape and, of course, the people and the nationalities. And obviously, that's why we're called Rainbow Nation.
That's awesome. And I gotta say, I've asked people when they think of South African cinema, what's the first movie that pops in their head? And of course, the one I'm hearing over the past, like, God knows how, like, I'd say decade is District 9, Neil Blomkamp's sci-fi film, because that movie got well recognized here. Now, I think of other films like The Gods Must Be Crazy. That was a 1980 film.
Exactly.
That movie, that was like one of the first ones to gain international recognition. And that was one of the first, that was one of my first introductions. I was like maybe 12 when I saw it, and I saw it at a friend's house, and I was laughing so hard throughout that film because I was thinking, this Bushman thinks this Coke bottle is from God. And then you got the whole safari gone awry, and the whole, when it interconnects, it brought this slapstick humor that I totally miss. We used to have them back in the 30s and 40s and 50s of Hollywood cinema. But then, you know, of course, nowadays our comedy is all raunchy and, you know, exploitative, and, you know, I do like the subtle humor, and that's why I love the South African film industry, because you guys kept that old school style of comedy, and I love that. That's one of the things I love about the cinema there, that they bring that comic style, like the old school comic style that I love so much.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think, you know, as much as we have been influenced by the West with regards to filmmaking and technology and that sort of thing, we have stuck true to our stories, which has been quite refreshing when it comes to media and entertainment. Because back in the day, our music sort of took on a very heavily westernized influence, and the more you stick to your culture and your traditions, and the not necessarily the culture and traditions, but like if you're authentic to where it is that you come from, then you can't copy something that's authentic. You know what I mean? Like, why would you want to be like someone else, or like some other what would you call it, the way the West would probably make films or whatever. Yes, good and well that you learn, and that you're able to take away those little nuggets that'll help you improve your filmmaking. But everybody's got a story to tell, you know what I mean? And everybody's got a sound that they want to get out there, and music that they want people to hear. So just, like stay true to who you are. And I think that's where the magic lies.
Exactly. And, like everyone says these days, Hollywood is mostly just remakes and reboots. We got the Marvel superhero films and we got all this other stuff, but it's all like, everyone's like, it's not really original anymore. The A-list films are not, as original anymore, but the indie films here, I will say, are becoming more original. And I gotta say, one of my favorite South African film directors is Alistair Orr. I love that, like, he has influences. He has these original stories, but he has the influence from other horror films for his films, like Triggered, which just came out last year.
Right,
and
right.
that was the movie that really got me going to watching more South African films. I mean, excellent ensemble cast, and I love the movie's Battle Royale. Everyone talked about Saw, and speaking with Alistair himself, I ended up watching all of his other films that he directed, and I saw that he has influences from all these other horror films, but yet his stories are original, and that's what I really love. I love the creativity and original. I do like the fact that he has influences, but he doesn't really push it, like make it as a full-on reboot. He makes, he puts them into his original stories, and that's one thing I really love about his films.
Absolutely. I mean, look, at the end of the day, no man is an island or self-made, I believe. Everybody has, people who help them or inspire them in certain degrees. Yeah, that's what I was sort of alluding to earlier. And I 100% agree with you, where, you can be influenced, use that influence to tell your own stories, you know what I mean? And even if you're able to like get away with certain nuances, just make it your own. When you're able to make something your own and you believe in it and you're able to tell a good story, then the rest of the world buys into it as well.
Definitely. And one thing that really surprised me, and I just found this out just as recent as last year, was what's known as the B scheme, which was basically in the 70s, an Afrikaner filmmaker named Tony van der Merwe wrote and directed a film called Joe Bullet, which was the first South African film to feature an all-black cast. Two screenings, and then the film got banned by apartheid. But it influenced him to go to the government and said, look, I want to make these films that are geared towards the black audiences. I want to do something for them, because it's not fair that all the South African films back then are just, for Afrikaners and all that, because of the way things were. So they came up with something called the B scheme. And I started watching some of these films because they got remastered like 40 years after all this stuff happened. And apparently they made like 1,600 of these films, but I think a good like 20 of them are out now that you can see on streaming. So I started watching some of them, and it reminded me of our 1970s blaxploitation era films, where it's not really so much as the action and horror films that we had, but they did different genres. They did comedies, they did dramas, they did action. I have not seen a B scheme horror film yet, but I felt that was important. Joe Bullet, I felt, was an important film because it featured an all-black cast, and it was like, this was huge. Even though the movie was it felt like a blaxploitation action film, it was important because he made this geared towards the black audiences over there. But apartheid, of course, was still going on, and it was just like, so what happened to these films? And apparently, after apartheid ended, these films disappeared. And in 2013, a company out of Cape Town called Gravel Road started finding these films, and they said, let's bring them for the new generation. Let's get these films out. And I started watching some of them, and I actually like them. I was like, I will watch these films. I'm like, this is quite interesting to watch because of I felt like I'm really seeing how it was back then. Like,
Dope.
So I felt
that's pretty dope. You're gonna have to teach me about South African cinema, man. You know a lot more than me. You got my number, you got my details. You need to send me all of these films. I need to catch up.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I and then I read an article in the New York Times from 2014 where at Durban, at the Durban International Film Festival, they gave Tony Van der Merwe an award for his efforts to bring these films to the Black audiences. And, it was just amazing to read this story. And then during
the courage. It really is amazing, the courage of people that actually fought against the system back when everything could have been taken away from them.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the times we lose sight of that, right? Because, we kind of like fight. Sometimes it's this is going to be a vast generalization. Sometimes we blanket statement everything, you know what I mean? And we cover everything with the same cloth. Whereas if we go back into our history and we realize people who were not of color, who were advantaged, but put themselves on the line, put their families on the line, to help other people, that should be remembered as well.
Definitely. And here's something I realized not too long ago. So there's a South African movie called Kill or Be Killed. And it was so funny because the marketing, when it came out in the US, said the greatest Hollywood martial arts film ever made. And I saw the film like, this is not a Hollywood movie. This is a South African movie, clearly. But it's about two teams of karate fighters. One is run by an ex-German Nazi commandant. The other one's run by a Japanese martial arts master. And then you have this one guy who was on one side, but he switches to the other. Anyway, they showed the tournament scenes, and there was only one black fighter in the whole entire movie. And
no way.
Yeah, and he wins his fight. So I'm thinking to myself, is this a precursor to what can happen when apartheid ends to bring that unity together? And he was on the Japanese Masters team. So I was thinking about that. I'm like, there's only one black fighter in this whole movie out of all these Afrikaners, and he wins his fight. So the first thing I'm thinking is, oh my God, could this be what it could be like if were they thinking this like a decade later, like apartheid's going to come to an end to show that unity and that spirit. And I was blown away with it. I don't know how I delved deep into that, but it just blew my mind seeing that.
Yeah, man, you love film, so you're going to get into it like that. Have you done any films yourself?
No, I'm not a filmmaker myself. I wanted to be a screenwriter, and because I come up with ideas in my head for movies, but who knows what can happen down the road.
Absolutely, man. When those ideas come, you need to write them down, and once they're written down, eventually everything sort of falls into place. You obviously have to put in the elbow grease, which you're very au fait with, but man, write it down. They obviously come to you for a reason. You've got a gift, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and some other movies I recently saw on these streaming channels. Big star in Hollywood now, Arnold Vosloo. He's from South Africa. I saw his first two movies on one of the streaming channels. His first two movies in South Africa. I think they were called Booty Goes to the Border, and then the sequel, which is Booty Up Maneuvers, which they renamed Maneuvers and then Wild Maneuvers, where he plays a rich guy who goes to the South African military during the border wars. And it felt like I was watching Stripes, because it was like he's this rich guy who goes to the army, and I felt like I was watching the Bill Murray, like a South African version of the Bill Murray film Stripes with these films. But they were really good. And I'm like, you look at Arnold Vosloo when he had a full head of hair, and he's like, you can kind of look at him and say, this guy's going to be a big star. And who knew that 15 years after this debut, he would play the Mummy in Hollywood. And here he, now he's this big star in Hollywood. And, I love that these actors come from there, and directors now, and they're making movies here. And
absolutely,
they bring that influence.
Absolutely. And that's another thing, I mean, like, as much as we focus on our own stories and want to tell our own stories, and I feel like at the moment, the world's eye has shifted to Africa and South Africa with regards to a lot of things, especially in the film industry, that, we were grateful, exceptionally grateful for the opportunities that we could have broken into places like Hollywood or LA or, you know, in New York or whatever the case may be, or the West End for that matter, or somewhere in the UK. So it kind of goes back to the statement of like, no man is an island and you got to do what you can with what you have. But yeah, also just going back to the actors that you mentioned there. I mean, dude, I'm in film. I've been in film, but it seems like you've got your PhD and your master's and your doctorate in film there. You're going to have to like...
I actually have a BA in film studies. So that really, so that's what I got. Yeah, I got a BA in film studies. So
there we go.
That's what did it.
I know all the names, man, but like going deep into all of these other movies, I'm like,
yeah. Like I gotta start watching. Like, yo, I might have to start watching this. Get back to my history. Get back to what exactly.
Oh, and you know, you were talking about Heks earlier. Triggered. You obviously know that Reine, who directed Heks.
Yes. Wasn't Triggered.
She wasn't Triggered.
Yeah, I actually interviewed. I interviewed her for Triggered, and you know, and we were talking about. I was talking about how South African cinema is starting to get a resurgence again. And she's like, yeah, I think we had a dormant period for a while. And then, you know, now it's coming back. Now we're getting our industry back like big time. You know, and we talked about, and I spoke with Alistair, and he's talking about how, you know, Michael Matthews did a Western, Five Fingers from Marseille in South Africa.
Here we go.
Oh, there we go. Okay. That was my end this time.
No,
First it was yours. Now it's my end. So we're okay. We're okay now. But yeah, I was talking about how, you know, we have these directors there like Gavin Hood, who directed Chelsea, and before that he did some acting over there. And and then Michael Matthews, who did Five Fingers from Marseille. Now he did Love and Monsters in over here in Hollywood. And just the whole, I love that now the directors are coming from there to do movies here. I think it's just mind blowing as well.
It's really cool because it also gives you a different perspective, right? People coming there with a sort of fresh outlook and a different perspective to tell stories in a way that they would have envisioned it, which kind of then takes you away from, you know, like that sort of stagnation where people may not necessarily be, I don't know if it's not an unwillingness to do original films, and that's why a lot of good films have to go independent. And they just kind of like find winning formulas with all of these sequels where they know, okay, cool, they're just going to be chasing money and whatnot. That being said, you know, the filmmaking throughout, you know, like let's just take the superhero movies, for example, the Avengers franchise. We saw that get better and better and better and better. And, you know, the kind of take that they had on it, besides it being sequels and them doing sort of prequels and, you know, side stories and backstories, etc. They found a way of, I mean, like, besides the actors being incredibly talented, and obviously them pumping a lot of money into it, they found a way of kind of like, you know, just making it very relatable. And I think that that's why a lot of people kind of, you know, got into it. However, that being said, I think there is a longing and a desire for, you know, sort of real stories, real life stories, where really getting to the back end of who people are, where they come from, because those are the ones that are most relatable. And oftentimes, because they're so relatable, can be more inspiring, because at the end of the day, you know, hands down, media, entertainment, and the arts is the biggest platform to be able to inspire change or make a difference.
Exactly. And, you know, that, speaking of that, we got some films that were made, you know, Hollywood made them, but they were shot in South Africa and they were about South Africa, like The Power of One, which was about a young kid who learned how to box from an African person in South Africa. You know, he was an Afrikaner, and then, you know, he uses boxing skills to take on apartheid at some point in his life. And then you have Invictus, which Clint Eastwood directed, which is Morgan Freeman as Mandela. After he won the election, he helped influence the South African rugby team to win the World Cup. Like, he was their big thing. And, you know, I feel like that's important because those are real stories. This is like stuff that everyone went through over there. And I feel that's very important, as well as the popcorn flicks, as we like to call them here. You know, just like, yeah, we're just watching this for entertainment. You know, we can care less. But I like the fact that we do bring that you guys get to bring the real stories in. One example I saw was I think it was called Sun, and Daryl Root directed it. It's about a guy who Yeah, he sacrificed himself during the border war, and he's paralyzed from the neck down. And his parents, don't know what to do. They have conflicting opinions on what they want to do with him. And I feel like that brought like a lot of heart and reality to things, because that can happen to anyone. Someone.
Absolutely.
And I just feel, and I just feel like we need more films like that. With heart. And what's your take on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, like as in life, you need balance. You know what I mean? So a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But I think that it is time now, because especially if people are complaining that there's remakes of this and like a remake of that, and the stories aren't original. Everybody's got a story to tell, man, and there are a lot of filmmakers out there. I'm not sure what the stats are now, but I remember when I was in LA. It was like 70% of actors, directors, and producers were unemployed, even though they were like super talented. You know what I mean? There was like 20 different versions of me, better than me, that were unemployed, not doing anything. So we've got stories to tell. We just need to, roll up our sleeves, get the elbow grease going, and start writing, start producing. Relationships especially are key. And use the networks that we have available to get our stories across. You know what I mean? I mean, you don't need much to shoot a film these days. We've seen features now in this day and age being shot on iPhones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just need people with the right passion, with the same sort of goals and drive. And anything is possible, man. Anything is possible. And, just also going back to what we were talking about with, the crossover of directors from South Africa to the States, or from the States to South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been happening for a long time. But like when you said you were speaking to Reine, there was a bit of a gap, between the sort of golden years to where we are now, and the opportunities that are presenting themselves now. It's important to recognize the opportunities and where they came from, even though we come with original stories and, raw talent and that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, we it's good to have confidence, but it's also important to recognize and give credit and honor where it's due.
Exactly. And that's what I feel like. I feel like I said, this is an industry. This is a South African film industry should be more recognized, because you guys done so much as for us as we have done for you in some ways. That reciprocation. It's like, I even saw an article here about martial arts films being shot. This was from the 90s. A lot of martial arts films were shot in South Africa during the 90s. That was one of the heydays there, where in America we had the golden age of the B movie, where you just go to your local video store, pick anything up. We're talking like 2 American Ninja films were shot in South Africa.
Correct.
We had a film called American. We had a movie called American Kickboxer, which Gavin Hood, who became a director, he was actually in the film. And I feel so bad for him, because the 2 movies he was in that I saw him in, American Kickboxer and then Kickboxer 5, The Redemption, with Mark Dacascos, who now is a big star thanks to John Wick Chapter 3.
Yeah.
Gavin gets killed in both films. I feel bad for him. But I do like...
For a reason.
Yeah, and I do like that in Kickboxer 5, he gets killed by James Ryan, who had just happened to appear in Kill or Be Killed and Kill and Kill Again. He was the star, and he made this comeback with Kickboxer 5 as the villain, and he kills Gavin Hood.
Crazy.
But then Mark Dacascos gets his revenge, so we're good on that.
Yeah, man. But crazy. Speaking about Mark Dacascos, what kind of he's had a long career as well. I used to follow all of his stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, like the capoeira and whatnot.
Yep, Only the Strong, and I followed his stuff too, and Drive, and for him to do the final Kickboxer film in South Africa is just amazing. And I like that, even the South African film directors who are big, well known now, they did some of these films. Like Daryl Root did the sequel to American Kickboxer, To the Death, and here he is now doing films like Sun, The Lullaby, which has Reine in it, and all these other big films over there. But here he is, doing a martial arts film, and I like that versatility also. That's the one thing I love about filmmakers. If they can show they can try different genres, that really works for me. And
Absolutely.
and I feel like, you know, South Africa does have some of those versatile filmmakers. I mean, Michael Matthews went from a Western to a sci-fi comedy with Love and Monsters.
Yeah,
Daryl Root
yeah.
has done like, I think he's done like almost every type of cinema. He's done action, he's done drama, he's done horror. I have not seen any comedies from him yet, but I'm pretty sure he's got one up his sleeve, or if he hasn't done it yet. But I love that versatility with the filmmakers.
Absolutely. Look, I can't really speak on behalf of the producers and the directors, but I can imagine that they were in the same boat that we were in back in the day. You know, with regards to the opportunities not being that many. So you'd have to kind of like sharpen your axe on all angles, you know what I mean? Because if there's anything that came along, you must be able to kind of chop it down or be able to work with it. And I think that's where a lot of the versatility came. Also just the, you know, the creativity and the hard work. You know, like we really truly have some of the best talent in the world. I mean, you know, I don't want to just say it because I'm from South Africa, but I've seen a ton of actors, directors, producers who have done outstanding stuff, and it's just a matter of time, you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, we can't rush success. You got to be patient. You got to work hard, and I think some of the trials that we go through and some of the hardships and the rejection and, you know, having to just like persevere lays the foundation for what's to come, because at the end of the day, easy come, easy go. So these guys are amazing at what they did. I know a couple of them. I've worked with some of them, and yeah, man, I want to see a lot more from Daryl. I saw him when I must have seen him. It was not a long time ago, but obviously COVID happened, and then
Right.
you know, we were in lockdown almost for a year. But I think it was just before COVID, I saw him and I was like, dude, we still gonna be doing a film together. And I was like, oh man, like there's something that you need to do. And there are a crazy amount of stories that's gonna be happening. We actually have something ridiculous that we started working with. I don't know how much I'm allowed to say just yet, because I've kind of like had my head in my scripts, and there's been a lot that's been happening at the moment.
Yeah.
So I that to my business partners, but okay, I'm so scared I'm gonna give something away by just even mentioning like what it's about. Watch the space. We're gonna have another interview, and I'm gonna be able to
definitely.
tell you
Y'all heard that. We're definitely gonna talk again. We're gonna catch up, and when the time comes, when he's ready to announce his project, we're definitely gonna have him on here and do this, because this is awesome. And I gotta say, you know, it's thanks to Reine that you're here, and I got, you know, it's a big thank you to her for letting this happen, because I've heard from everyone, and I've seen a bunch of her recent films, like quite a few of her recent films. And I remember her co-star from Triggered, Cameron Scott, said she's like a big sister to the film industry. You know, she was there for us. And then what's funny enough is when she shot Triggered, she was like, well, we shot the movie at night, and then during the day we would bond, you know, go drinks, play laser tag. And this was all Cameron's idea, because he's the youngest one out of all of us. And, you know, so it's just to see that. And, you know, Cameron is like an awesome guy too. You know, he's recently appeared on Bachelorette. I think he's gonna be an actor who's gonna get big eventually. He's gonna find his stride. Yeah, he's gonna find his stride. I definitely see it. And I think he has a short film coming up called Ring of Beasts, and yeah, I'm looking out for that one as well. There's quite a few. Another Trigger co-star, Michael Potter, he's now on Ubatina Wethu, which is like, I think over here is Ugly Betty. He was like our version of Ugly Betty. Right, and then I found out, not like about a month ago, that a Canadian filmmaker, Danishka Esterhazy, went to South Africa, and she shot a remake of The Slumber Party Massacre in South Africa. And she used a South African cast. And when I found out who's going to play the killer, it blew my mind, because I found out it's Rob Van Vuren, who is a comedian there. He's a comic star there. So I'm like, oh my God. Like, this is pretty cool, because we've had comic stars play killers. We've had Kevin James recently, he played a killer in Becky. Donald Log, who was a comic star back in like the early 2000s, he played a killer in Silent Night, the remake of Silent Night, Deadly Night. Robin Williams kind of played a stalkerish type before he passed away in One Hour Photo. Now we got Rob Van Vuren playing a guy with a power drill in the upcoming Slumber Party Massacre. So I love that as well, that they get to try different types of roles. But
absolutely,
Michael Potter, I found out is going to be in this, and sadly he is the first one to get killed and triggered. So my heart goes out to him. But but
always worth getting killed
all these
first.
Yeah, all these, like, I love it that all these young actors are coming from there, South Africa, from South Africa, and and you as well, because you were great in the Heks, hands down. You did an excellent job in that movie. You're all gonna be like the new generation of stars, and I can't wait to see more of you guys in films and TV. Hopefully,
thank you, man.
Hopefully, you guys will get to do stuff here in the U.S. as well. So let's keep our fingers crossed and hope you guys get to make it as well. Hopefully on that level of Arnold Vosloo and Charlize Theron, and you guys will make it as well. I have confidence in you guys that you all will do it.
Hey man, we appreciate it, and thank you very much. Like, no pressure though, right?
Yeah, no pressure. Yeah, I mean, Reine has done like supporting roles in Hollywood flicks. I know she did The Empty Man, and she did Detour, because they were shot in South Africa, and she directed the Heks. She did Triggered. I know she's got some more stuff coming up soon, and I saw some of her early stuff like The Pro and Summer Sun, and the one movie I want to see so bad, but we cannot get in the U.S. I want to see Van der Merwe, because I saw the trailer for it and I literally lost it. I was dying. I was cracking up through the whole trailer. I'm like, we need this movie in the U.S.
Yeah. Is that Rob Van Vuren, right?
Yeah, Rob Van Vuren is Van der Merwe, and Reine plays his daughter. That's so.
Oh, you see, I haven't seen it either yet. But
yeah, I saw the trailer. I saw the trailer, and Reine has got dark hair, but she plays his daughter, who's engaged to an Englishman. So it's like, and he's just like, what?
Oh yeah.
So I was like, that's the movie I want to see. Like more, like I got to see Van der Merwe, but we can't get that in the U.S. because we just don't get enough South African films here. I mean, I think we're starting to now. At this point, we're starting to now, but I feel like we need more. I think the U.S. needs more of, international films, not just South African, but international films. We need more in the U.S. I think it needs to get more recognition. But I mean, South African for sure is one of those countries that we need to get more films from.
Absolutely. It was almost like every country needs to start their own local Netflix, and make it available to different parts of the world, so that you can go to their archives. And hey, that's a thought. Hey, maybe we can get into business on that one.
We should, man. Because we gotta get more of the stuff out, man. People need to see this. Let's see what it's like there, and not just all the different parts of the world. Man, that'd be awesome. But yeah, man, this was a great conversation, man. We definitely gotta keep in touch after this. This is awesome.
Most definitely. I'm gonna try and help you get fundamental. You must just you'll obviously send me your details and that sort of thing. I'll try and find it for you and send it through.
Yeah, and I'll send you where to get where you can catch some of these movies and some of the B scheme movies that you can check out now, thanks to Gravel Road in Cape Town. So yeah, so everyone, thank you so much for checking out the first episode of the World Film Geek Podcast. Christopher Jaftha, thank you so much. A special thanks goes out to many of the filmmakers and actors in South Africa, or who come from South Africa, who are making movies here. This is for all you guys, and thank you once again. And I hope everyone stays safe and you all take care. Thanks again, Christopher. And let's do this. Let's do this again sometime. All right.
Absolutely. Take care, my brother.
All right.
All the best.
Take care.
Take care.
All right.